Well, today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to introduce a whole new show. Normally, I end up doing this on Instagram, which I still will. I end up posting my weekly signature books. I have the I have the privilege of seeing many artists, creators come through my area because where I live. I live in the Los Angeles area, and not only because of the LA Comic Con cruising through, but so many people live in my vicinity that luckily I end up coming across them. And because of friends and so forth, I end up getting to meet a great deal of individuals. I kind of taken it for granted until recently, after talking with Jigs, it came to me that as I was going through my collection, how many books I really do have signed. Now, I know I've yet to actually talk about exactly what's going on in the formatting, and I'll address that now. What this show's about is what essentially got me into getting signatures onto my books. And in some regards, as some people have even said, even artists and creators, defacing my covers or the back covers if I have had done before or whatever. Well, reason for me is I like the stories that are attached to the stories. Meaning, when I enjoy a piece of art, a particular series because of the storyline, certain characters because I either totally identify with or totally don't identify with, that I end up falling in love with these particular characters that I end up wanting to know more, which leads me right to the artists, sometimes the creators, or their, I'm sure the example explains itself. Now, before I carry on in explaining what the whole show is about and what this episode in particular is, I want to address the individuals that decided to drop by. And first, as always, Les Cruces, I appreciate you being here, buddy. And dude, I hope you appreciate the show. And for all of you, which I'll address next, Fable Station, is that I want to make this also educational, not only just informational for individuals that want to decide, and just entertaining, that want to decide to stop by. Because in my years of doing this, I also noticed that, which has also been brought to my attention, I guess I have particular, I don't know, a way about how I end up doing my stuff that certain people find favorable, whether it's CGC, CBCS, the artists, the creators, the stores, the owners, the whatever. And I feel that now that it's been addressed to me by so many individuals after so long of these years, that I've never conveyed that to anyone really else in a particular show. So that's the idea behind this hopefully ongoing series, is for you and me, being the signature slut that I am, want you guys to have an understanding of what I do and why I do it beyond just having scribblings on my book. Mike, I appreciate you being here, buddy. And dude, I not only welcome you back, but I'm looking forward so much to seeing what you end up collecting, because in my opinion, you and I at times had so many similarities in what we decide that we want to collect, that I'm interested to see what you end up getting. Ian, buddy, how you doing? Hope you're well. Mark, hope you're doing really well. Actually, at this point, it would be what, morning or late morning? Yeah, I know. So how about we go over this? So check this out. Today's episode is essentially this week. Now, at times I will be talking about, if I don't get any books signed in this particular week or in the week of the episode that it airs, I'll end up talking about past weeks and certain books. Therefore, we'll get to that when we come to that bridge. Right now, the bridge that we're going to talk about is Wednesday that just transpired, which was, I have no idea the date, but it's almost, 29th. That's right. So that'd be what, 11/29 was the last issue of Ms. Marvel, issue number 4. All right, so that was the last issue for the series. It was a 1-4 mini. That significance is essentially two things, in my opinion. One was the fact that when she came back as a mutant. In my opinion, again, what that now represented is a whole new direction. With also what it does, it seemingly is more what I think individuals identified her as being, anyways. Is she wasn't necessarily a Marvel individual as much as she was a mutant Marvel individual, if that makes sense. So, that being stated, the other one is the fact that it was a team that wrote the book. All right. And two of the individuals I want to address, essentially, they were predominantly writing everything. Another individual was just essentially the mastermind behind the concept of the character that we presently have, which I can't remember her name at the moment. I'm sorry. But anyways, the two individuals that I really want to address is Iman Vellani and Sabir Pirzada. Now, so Sabir, I'll first address. He recently wrote Cult of Carnage Misery. Now, that was him getting into a Marvel thing to where he was then, I believe, contacted and introduced to Iman, who was getting her feet wet with writing and wanted to team up with someone while she wrote something. And being that she was Ms. Marvel, writing a Ms. Marvel character is, I think, something that she desired. Also, it kind of worked out for Marvel's favor. So under the guidance of not only Sabir, Marvel and him in turn asked her to go ahead and submit some writings. She threw the pitch together, and between Sabir and her, they wrote what we had received. Her love for comics is rather deep, as I end up finding out that Wednesday and meeting both Sabir, which is someone who I've got to meet a few times now, and the guy is genuinely a lover of comics, and his understanding how to properly navigate and tell a story is beyond just comics. He is in the entertainment industry. He does know how to write, and that's where I believe his strengths are is storyboarding and writing for real, or should I say, movie stuff. So this is almost like a love for him that it was kind of worked out because of the COVID situation. So them two end up getting together and they end up writing this. Now, I end up, like I stated, end up seeing them on the 29th, and I end up having a few questions in which I want to pose. That, again, is something why I like going to these events is, one, I end up approaching these individuals a little bit differently than most individuals do, which I'll get to that in a moment. And another is I end up liking to delve into information I think individuals that are looking for, but not necessarily are able to obtain because of the waters in which that they navigate to obtain them. Example. I seen Sabir first at the door, and I had greeted him and came around the door to then see Iman, which many people may know, but if you don't, is the actress who plays Ms. Marvel. And this was her first writing and, I believe, signing event. So she was rather taken back by everything that was going on. After seeing Sabir, he knew me and said hello to me directly, only to acknowledge for her to, I guess, take away from the conversation that she had just to greet me, just to say hello. I had in turn laid out my books, which I'll get to in a moment, in the way in which that I do. And I was told that they were only allowing a certain amount to be signed. But being there, they were so already preoccupied with that conversation and then with mine, didn't realize that they ended up signing more than they were initially told that they only could. I'll get to that, like I said, in a moment. What I ended up asking was, one, how was she enjoying the event? And that, two, I was grateful that she was able to make it to the event, knowing that she had just flown in, the traffic was rough, and it had taken a lot for not only her people to show up, but for her to show up as well and set up the event and have it ready for her, being that there was already well over 12 to 1,300 people in line and only roughly around 150 were going to see her. Most people didn't realize that. So again, she was really taken back, and I just kind of want to relax her by making those comments. And she was really so grateful and taken back that she was able to relax herself enough that she didn't even realize that she was signing my books. And in a way that she was signing them a little bit different than she was signing everyone else's. She was grabbing their books and signing it and handing it to Sabir, who then put it on a table, signed it, and slid it off to the side. If you had a 9-8, it wasn't if she had it in her hand. It might have been a 6-0 after. She had no idea what she was doing, which again is something that I'm going to address in a moment. So I was able to speak to her and end up finding out that by relaxing her and asking a couple questions, and I asked what it was like to work with Sabir, and she made comment, I segued right into, if she's going to write another book, I suggested that she write it with Sabir first before she tried to go ahead and go solo. I then acknowledged a little look between the two because of something that I had said that she couldn't deny. They weren't announcing at the time, but if you haven't already known that Sabir Pirzada and Iman are going to write a second volume to the Ms. Marvel story that I believe should be heading out probably around March or April, I think. What this will do is go ahead and further build upon the story that we already presently have and the new character in her new way and how she's developing and understanding, her new mutant powers and how that affects how she's going to have to deal with the world, being that, as you of course know, mutants are outlawed. She wasn't before. Yeah, it's a dilemma. So back to the whole thing. After jumping in line, and I know I'm hopping around, but jumping in line and talking to some people and seeing how people had their stuff, most people show up at these events with their books and just a bag and board. Some of them will actually have their stuff inside of store folios. That's rare. I'm not really seeing, but maybe a 1 in every 20 people that I see have store folios. The other thing that I have not found at all is this. Now, what I end up doing is I end up taking a bag, and then I end up window boarding it. And what I mean by that is I end up putting a bunch of blue tape around it, cutting out the center area that I want, or isolating the area that I want signed. And then this flap just simply goes right over. Now, of course, I end up sealing it. It was just as for the example, but I end up sealing it in the back. It's also suggested that if you do submit to CGC, if you're out of witnessing or anything like that, on the back, go ahead and write all your information, name, address, telephone number, so forth. That way, if the book is mispiled as it's taken out and re-put in different areas, because your book's going to get handled at least 3 more times, that you end up having this information so it goes ahead and keeps your stuff together. Now, if you're really thinking about it and you already know how many books that you're going to have, in the case that I had over at, let's say, this event with Iman and Sabir, I had 4 books. So what I ended up doing is I put 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and 4 of 4, knowing that my particular submission was a collection of 4 books. Made it rather simple. So they put the form on top. They already have 4 of 4. I have my books like this. They get masked, whatever. It's both sides are basically a board. I was told by not only one rep here in LA, but when I went to LA Comic Con, was told by the person that I was giving all my books to that they wished everyone would submit them this way. Now, I know there's those neat little flappy things, those like yellow and all that other stuff. They really don't have any support. A person to my right, I know I'm hopping around, forgive me, submitted 16 books of just in that little floppy little signature window board thing. And he was holding like $300, $400, $500, $600 books each. And because when he would flip over and just lay them into this gigantic pile in this box over off to the side for the guy that was going to submit him through CGC, he was even looking at him like, hey, man, I just want you to know I'm going to lay him face to face. Hopefully I'll give him some integrity and go back to back. But I mean, I just want you to know that, I mean, I suggest you put him in some other bag or something like that. And he's like, oh, man, it's fine. I'm like, yeah. And here he is recommending that this is how people should do it, how I just showed you. So again, regressing. So at the signing event, I end up having 4 books. I end up meeting Iman. What I do with every artist and creator is I try to introduce myself. I always thank them. I try to figure out how much time I have by how many people were before me to get how many books I have signed. In my store folios, I always put them in order and which that I think is most priority from top all the way down the bottom. I have my store folio and I kind of put it off to the side. I grab my stack and I lay them out in order and I stack them, much like they do at CGC. By the time they end up signing the 6th one, I'm able to pull the first one, put the flat back over, and start storing my store folio. By the time they reach, I usually can fit 8 in my store folio. Number 8, I already have 4 inside there, and I'm able to get my other store folio out, put the other 4 in, and start going through the process. I'm usually able to go through as many as 15 books by the time it takes someone to go through 3 to 4 of them before, as they pull them out of their bag, put them out, lay it, talk to someone, have them sign it, put it back in the bag. By doing this way, it allows me a lot more time to actually talk to the people. And they tend to end up noticing that they're not having to look or focus at what they're doing as much as they're able to kind of just go down in a little assembly line row. Works out for them. I've had a lot of artists and creators thank me for taking the time out that it is for them to go ahead and go through this. So as I'm thanking them, they're thanking me. And it just, again, it brings everything kind of to a mellow situation. Always recommend doing that. So yeah, at the event I was at, I ended up having 4 books submitted. So I'll show you I already had books in the past signed by Sabir. There'll be 2 books here that I'll point out that I had Sabir actually miss. I'll end up seeing them again rather soon. I have other books in Misery that I needed signed, but I didn't get signed at the event because of the fact that they were limiting a certain amount of books, which I'm working on a couple of shops about that. I'm giving them ideas on how to make sure that the line keeps moving and everyone has enough time to talk to the artists and creators. And they're kind of like some of my ideas. Don't want to take up time with that here and now. Let's move on to what I got signed. So signing off, I had 2 issues of Ms. Marvel #1 cover A signed by both Sabir and Iman Velani. However, I don't have them here. The reason why is I had them, like I said, submitted by CGC, and they're getting graded as we speak. So hopefully in about 3 weeks, I'll get those things back. Now, but this is a cover in which Iman said she never saw. So she's never seen these figure style covers, and she was kind of blown away. So this cover C, I was rather shocked on it didn't get damaged because of how she was grabbing it. But being, like I said, I had it in there, she really couldn't damage it that well. I mean, I had, again, when I flip the back over, I usually will take the tab and I'll double back it. So now it offers 2 backing backing board strength on the back. And I usually just lay them out. But even though she was picking up, she was kind of, oh my God. So yeah, this got signed. 2 of the cover A's got signed. 1 of the second prints. Again, this is both by both writers, Iman and Sabir. All right. There's an issue 3. And you're like, wait, why? Wait, what happened to 2? Issue 2, the only issue 2 covers I had were both design covers. So I looked down on the list. It just so happens, there's another tip. Get to know your regional CGC rep well. If you got kids, take pictures with them. If you ever see these people out doing their reppy thing by themselves or whatever, give them a water and just keep walking. Whatever you can do to help these guys out. One, they're overworked, and two, if you can get them on your side, you will not believe how beneficial it is. So I'll get to that little bit of story in a moment. So yeah, I end up getting two things out of that. One was on this day, I ended up asking him for his list of everyone who had submitted books before me. Now that's not something anyone can grab, and it's a good thing I'm a small channel. Please don't share this. Quite the opposite what most people say. So by grabbing his list, I got to see what everyone had submitted before me. No one before me had submitted a design cover. The beauty about knowing some of these people is you get certain privileges. So I don't have an issue number 2 because I got 2 of them coming out graded as 2 design covers I had. All right, now issue number 4, I only had Iman sign. I was able to slip this one in as Y. And the same thing with this issue number 4. Sabir didn't get to sign these. I will at one point have him sign it, but I knew that I was slipping a couple books in that weren't supposed to be signed. So like I said, I ended up having 4 books signed on that date of 11/29. And the event lasted from 5 to 8, and I was there for 2.5 hours. I was numbered 90 in line of the supposed 150 were I able to actually see her. I didn't stick around to find out. However, I did hang around and talk to the owner. I ended up talking to all the workers that were there. Thanked everybody that, made the event happen. And what I also recommend is whenever you go to any signing event, I don't know if you do this or not, but I always do recommend that you not only buy something from the store, but you somehow make it known to the management, owner, whatever, that you were there and that you made that purchase and that you will come back. And if so, you also will try to bring people or spread the word. By doing so, I mean, mathematically speaking, if you think about it, one of the reasons why they do these things is if they can go ahead and get, I'm just choosing loose numbers, 100 people to buy even just one book, think about what that is in sales. That's just in 1 week. If you end up having to do, if you can do that, every other week, and you can have 2 events in a month, or as fortune be it, maybe as many as 3, you've really increased the amount of sales that you can do at your own LCS. So that's why it's really important to you as an individual that goes to the events to be able to support your LCS by please making a single, at least one purchase of anything in the store, because it really does help them out. And as long as they make that acknowledgement that you are making an effort to go ahead and help them out to make sure that they're there, they'll keep trying to do these events. It's just a symbiotic relationship. I didn't really mean to do that. So, hey, let's move out from there. So I end up working over that Friday. 2 days later, let's fast forward, and now we're talking about the 1st. It's the LA Comic-Con event was happening from the 1st through the 3rd. I knew a lot of people were not only flying in, but I also know a lot of individuals locally in the area that belong to certain groups, Sketchy Bug, so forth, that have a lot of individuals that are artists and creators that near religiously, patron this event. So I know a lot of individuals that are there. And for me, this is like home. I have not been to LA Comic-Con but a few times. However, I've seen some of these individuals at so many different signing events now. See how this works out? That when I do see them at these events, it isn't like the standard robotic going through the motions. I'm able to take time or share information with individuals that is not normally privy to them because of the limited amount of time that they have with these individuals. It's interesting. At one point, I ended up going at a signing event and watching Chad Moore, and I sat there for an hour just listening to stories. So even have those stories to be able to share with other people as you're waiting in line to go see even that individual. When sometimes the individual that you're seeing hears the stories that you tell, they recognize the impact that it has on you. They recognize that you're trying to have an impact on others and share the word. And they also care that much more that I've had individuals sit there and go, don't pay attention to that sign. You're not giving me money. I end up, in the case of that, seeing an individual named Timmy. Timmy's kind of known for writing. Timmy Heeg is kind of known for writing Archie storybook stuff. So the story I end up telling you is part like him. I end up seeing him, and he's not trying to make me, pay for anything. I'm like BS. So I end up throwing some money that he didn't want. He ended up throwing a book that I definitely did. So this is Sweetie Boo does this cover, and he ended up not only doing a little sketchy sketch, and then writing a neat little signature, as I always love, but he ended up writing a little, remark for me that I just love. Guy is totally cool, and I met him at so many signing events, and he's the guy I ends up owning over at Arsenal Comics. I ended up having a ball with him, and by I ended up hanging out with him, next thing I know, I had a bunch of other artists and creators hanging out with me because it's just right around the corner. David Boer, Tim Sheridan, Dennis Culver. Oh my God, I could just keep going. It was so freaking awesome because I was just hanging out with all these people, and people that were normally waiting in line to actually talk to these people or get things signed. Next thing we know, we had a circle of us just talking. Or it was actually, I'm sorry, we were lined up around a booth. I'm sorry, a semicircle of us just talking, and we had a bunch of people just kind of standing there with their books going, well, what's going on? So the beauty about hanging out with individuals like that and taking time and really caring and asking about how they are and who they are and what's going on in their lives gives you privileges that are not usually afforded the most. And I highly recommend it. Moving out from Timmy, I ended up walking down the way, and I had essentially 3 goals. And in order, what those goals were was, first, I wanted to talk with Dan Slott. Next was, I wanted to speak with Chip Zdarsky, and after with, I wanted to, if I possibly could, speak with Skottie Young again. I did see him earlier in the year, but I didn't see him in so long before that. I only got to hang out with a little bit of time. And the story on that last time I saw him is, you'll see a backpack behind me hanging off that surfboard. That's my signing backpack. Inside of it, I carry with all kinds of pens, felt, paint, standard Sharpie, every color in the rainbow. The reason why is Skottie Young's pen ran out. His silver pen had died right when he arrived. And his handler yelled out, if anyone has a silver pen, please hand it to us and we'll bring you to the front of the line. As I said, that thing is packed in the front with brand new pens, and I make sure that they work every time before I go to a signing event. So absolutely, I had a pen working and asked them if they wanted to choose anything else. They could. They not only met a selection of 2 pens, but I not only got my 10 books signed plus 4 more. 1, because of how I ended up doing my books, and 2, because I had pens. Come prepared is the moral of that one. Next. Buddy, I appreciate you being here. Seriously. Community. That's rad. So after I left work, I ran over to the con, and I ended up getting my pass. I ended up running inside. As I made mention, I ended up going and running into Timmy. After that, I made a beeline, talked to Chip. I knew it was going to take some time to go ahead and play with Dan. So that's what I ended up doing next, was going over to the Dan Slott area. Why? I am a Spider Boy nut. What I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Spider Boy. Just came today. I couldn't get it signed at the event, unfortunately. Just came today, and I couldn't get anything done. So, it is what it is. Now, I ended up talking to Dan Slott about 2 years ago at a signing event, and after picking his brain, after going ahead and warming up to him nicely, I'm able to get a lot of information out of him. He's able to divulge a lot of stuff that he doesn't necessarily want to. I ended up finding out, which now everyone knows, that he ended up getting that signed with Marvel, and now he's pretty much exclusive with them again. That locked them down, and in doing so, what the reason why they end up doing that is because of this. I'll get to my books in a moment. Now, let me drop some news. All right, this is super important. All right. After telling me that he ended up getting picked up exclusively and that he had works of, he allowed me to tell him the books that I knew, and he only ended up basically confirming everything that I already knew. So I already gave him information all the way up to book 4. He was rather shocked. But at the same point, he ended up giving me backstory on that. Backstory is this. See how, let me, before I confirm that, how normally things are done is a writer will end up pitching stuff and that gets picked up. But when it's something that's tied into the whole Marvel lore, meaning like if it's something as big as what Aaron does or Hicks or anyone like that, they're the ones who actually write the actual lore. Stuff that they end up doing is now solidified into the Marvel universe, and that's how things are done. When Marvel guides you, or one of these individual guides you, that means it's solidified into the Marvel universe. So Marvel ended up contacting Dan well before he ended up really getting all this information thrown out there, meaning before Spider-Man 7 was really in the prints and all that other stuff, they were lining this up for the long haul. I mean, like 2.5, 3 years down the road. When 7 came out, everything was a release and everything was a go. They go ahead and they said that your contract's going to go ahead and be re-upped. And in doing so, we need this of you. Getting back to what I said. Things that they need of him is something that is going to be serious. They need him to write something that was serious. So you're going to end up doing like a Taskmaster thing with Captain America. They'll end up doing something that you can go ahead and play with and introduce all his other characters. It is, I confirmed and I knew he's introducing characters that kind of are slightly campy that we recognize from like the old 60s when Batman used to bring out characters and these villains would have these funny little names. He's doing essentially the same thing, but he's doing it in a way to pay homage to it and not to poke fun at it. That's why these characters are real characters. And he's also bringing, they didn't want him to just pull out of nowhere stupid characters and at the same point pull characters that are already in the Marvel universe, because then it just looked too odd that they had to re-explain too much. So now that they already made agreements on how they're going to go ahead and go further in this universe, basically solidify the idea that Spider-Boy's not going anywhere. They've already planned out, to my understanding and my knowledge, at least 2 years down the run of what's going to be happening with them. So look forward to all that. And in all that, I got that information on getting these books signed. Now, stating that, I end up getting 18 books, I believe, signed. Now, one was just wanted the negative one done. And 2, being that Scotty Young was around the corner, I was in the hopes and the hay and the hope shine that I was going to have the opportunity to go ahead and walk around the corner and get it signed. Didn't have that opportunity. So those are the 2 in which that I got signed. You're like, wait, 2. All that and you got 2 books signed. No. I got 18 books signed. Those are the 2 I can show you. What I ended up getting signed was 16 books of Spider-Boy stuff. Edge of Spider-Verse, 1 in 100s, 1 in 200s, 2 of each of those. I got to remember that. There's a story behind that. Spider-Man issue number 7. 5 of the spoiler variants, and only the spoiler variants. As far as not the cover A, I end up doing second print 2 of the actual virgin covers, which were the 1 in 25s. I ended up also doing one of the, what is that, the Edge of Spider-Verse 200s and the other 100s. Basically, it was a totality of 16 books. Yeah. So those 16 books and the 4 books that I ended up getting slabbed in totality, I got 20 books coming in the past 3 days that I had from visiting over at Collector's Paradise and going to the LA Comic-Con. 20 slabs. Seeing all kinds of people But my priorities were focused. And that's another thing I want to get to is make sure that you have a clear understanding of what you're up against. I did stay within my budget. Ish. Seriously. I kind of knew what I was going to spend. By talking to Dan Slott and looking down at his card, this is another information I want to tell all of you guys. Dan Slott now charges like he never really did before. What I mean by that is that most used to charge like $5 a signature that I knew. I don't know what he charges out in the world other than what my experiences have been over at LA Comic Con and signing events around here in town, mostly up north. However, point being, UF4 and now Spider-Man 7 are now two issues that he will normally probably, that I can see, charge a minimum of $25, and at the event was charging $30, knowing that these things were going to be CGC'd, and it doesn't matter even if you have it raw, you're still going to be charged. That's how big this character in his eyes is supposed to be getting, and supposed to be through confirmation of Marvel. He doesn't see this character going anywhere, and everyone's coming at him like you wouldn't believe. He did a signing event at Midtown that I guess was like over 4 hours. Essentially, that's over 90% of what people brought. This character is big. I'm not telling you, this is not specking. I'm just telling you my experience of what I end up doing on my signing event and some of the things and what I do and why I do them and how that I do them. Pretty much that was it. Now, that was my signing, stuff. Away from that, Kai ended up wandering around, and I recognized one of the people from the K-Rock. They were doing a event up there on stage, one of those events, you know how they are. But anyways, I ended up recognizing part of the crew in the audience. So I ended up walking up to him and told him how my son and I, both upside down, listened to the show. Guy was blown away and going, "Wait, you listen to radio?" I go, "Yeah, I'm that old." But my son and I really enjoy it. He was also given like this card, which I thought was really badass, by the company. So, and I thought that was cool. And then some other stuff that we ended up getting. Probably going to do this upside down too. It'll focus, I swear to God. And then let's see what else. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, it's too much trying to focus in the background. So I ended up talking also to some other people about movies coming out, options being happened. I got to talk to Caden Phoenix. She's pretty excited. Really happy about her. I'm trying to remember the name of the book now, but her book that just came out, Clica. Damn, I can't remember. But if I do, I'll end up doing another show. And the beauty about that is I end up finding out so many books that are going to be coming out in the coming months, and so many things that are supposed to be options. I can't wait. Now that all these strikes are basically ended. Everyone's doing their surveys right now. I was just at a movie shoot for Spider-Man 2, checking all that out. Things are getting in the full swing. After the holidays, I would say the second week of January, everything's going to be in the full swing. So hopefully, I know everything was projected and not until 2025, but I'm hoping movies, especially what you see end up coming out on Netflix and things like that, should be happening a lot sooner. So that's pretty much it. If you like what you saw and you dig the information, hopefully maybe there's someone I'm doing down the road. Quick recap. Books that were signed. Dan Slott, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Dan Slott. Chip Zdarsky. And like I said, the reason why I had Chip sign this, I had a bunch of different books, but I just wanted to talk to the guy. I wanted an excuse, and I wanted Scotty to actually sign this book. Down the road, I'm going to be talking about what my new goals are, which is actually getting multiple signatures on books. And so, yeah, hey, Timmy, I appreciate this. Kai and I already read it, had a lot of fun. There's 3 stories in that book. Miss Villani, Mr. Pirzada, I appreciate you signing my books. And yeah, these were them. Hey, Promiscuous, I appreciate you being here. So that is all my books. And I appreciate everybody here for checking out my first show of my signed books for the week. And that's it for me. Entropy. Appreciate you being here. Stay well.